Alright, Ulm turn 86, finished research in thaumaturgy, moving on to 7 as discussed. Bringing in a golem, that's new, so yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Doing some remote site searching. I believe all of these miss, which is pretty common later in the game. A lot of these are hitting provinces that have already been searched at a lower level. Still not really sure, what the return is, on that, how useful it is to completely search some of these. But yeah, giving it a shot here, not working out. Still getting, Wraith Lords, doing some reanimation for just skeleton chaff, Call the Winds, Yetis, all normal stuff, how we've been spending our gems in previous turns. And then, we caught some battles, and we actually had some battles against some independents. Most of these are not too interesting. This is just a scout demonstrating that Zots are not very good, and sometimes one PD is not enough to prevent a scout from capturing a province, but it doesn't really matter because then a real army moves in and kills that scout. This is just, another raiding force against not even PD, just some random Ko-Oni. And then sadly, the reign of Uncaged has come to a close as he bumps into some Dione. So yeah, that's Black Hawk, Great Hawk is not enough for 2 Dione. And then we have a battle just against, some dire wolves with axe warriors. Axe warriors chop up, dire wolves and wolves just fine. And then this is our unkitted Wraith Lord going up against, some trolls. So this is, is experimental, totally unkitted. So yeah, we're going to go and put up Soul Vortex. So that's going to drain, fatigue and health. We're super familiar with that from our time with the Neefle Jarls. And then, he puts invulnerability on himself. So yeah, let's see. His protection versus mundane right now is 32, so quite high. Although trolls do hit really hard when they connect. 34. So they'll definitely still chip through, but hopefully, with the draining from the Soul Vortex, we should be okay. And then of course, our attack and defense is solid. He comes with a Bane Blade that does plenty of damage. He's got a Fear Aura. So yeah, our fatigue is not terrible. It's not great. 72. It's a little high. Both of those spells are pretty fatiguing, but of course, he immediately starts to bring that fatigue down by draining with, the Soul Vortex. He gets a hit, starts to take some hits, a little more than chip. They do get a roll on top of like the listed damage. So yeah, when you're right at it, that's a little risky. He is ethereal as well, right? So, and these trolls just have mundane weapons. So if we take a look at it, like a lot of these should be, ethereal, negated the damage. So he's actually getting hit quite a bit. I guess his defense is, being driven down. It's just really rough anytime you don't. This is why like a Vine Shield is so useful, because it just reduces the number of attacks that you're going to see. When you have a lone unit like this, it doesn't take that many units to stack up around him to, his defense score was mediocre-ish, like good. 16, it's good, but it's not great. But now it's being driven down into just militia levels. So yeah, this is starting to look. He's also not very killy, right? So I'm not even sure if we got a single troll. And this is the decay, but since the trolls regenerate, I don't think the decay is likely to ever kill them. So he's taking a decent amount of damage. He's probably a very old troll now. But yeah, that didn't go well. We killed 1 troll, so that's good. But yeah, we that's it. That's all we did. Of course, the good news is, Wraith Lords are immortal, so, right, he's now fully reformed and lives again, so we didn't really lose anything except time and maybe a little pride. But yeah, unkitted Wraith Lords cannot take on, 10 trolls. So that's interesting to know. And then let's see, there was, speaking of Wraith Lords, I believe this is, Yomi using a bunch of Wraith Lords. And it looks like he is also using them unkitted, right? So yeah, risking no gear. They do tend to stack up afflictions. Dying is not ideal. Looks like they're just doing skelly spam, and they're not up against much. Just, PD and, 2 Hell Hurtings here, who are probably going to be unblessed. Yeah. So probably the result of a retreat somewhere. I think there's going to be way too many skeletons for for that. He survived a lot longer than I might have expected. But yeah, you can see the Wraith Lords, you know, even unkitted and everything, they can pop out quite a few skeletons. Liches are probably better at this type of raiding because they're cheaper and they have higher level death, so they can, you know, pop out more skeletons. Although Wraith Lords, you know, are more survivable. So, you know, there's something to be said for that. They're definitely better if you want to slap a bunch of gear on them and send them in against stuff. And then I believe this was a storm. Yeah, so this is Helheim, storming yet another fort. And yeah, there's not a whole lot in here. There is a Dione. He is kitted, so you know you got some MR, you know, 2 weapons for extra killiness, some armor, a few mechanical men. I think I hear some imps or something. Yeah, let's see, what is this? So yeah, so Wailing Winds, Storm. This is all coming from Helheim. Fog Warriors. Yeah, no darkness yet. I guess it doesn't really help us much, actually, against Yomi because demons have perfect dark vision. So, right, like, yeah, you know, Helheim, again, demonstrating that he's a solid player, right? He's not just blindly putting up, you know, the same spells against everybody. Definitely tailoring his responses depending on who he's up against. And, you know, this is just, like, not enough stuff. And the Dione has put himself to sleep. And let's see, what was he? Soul Vortex, Legions of Steel. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't even know if he put it on himself. I guess maybe he was trying to buff the mechanical men. I do feel like this has been a bit of an issue for the Dione. His encumbrance is not terrible. Does he have, no, and he's a hero too. Oh, unequaled obesity. Yeah, that's rough. You know, so yeah, he gets, does he get increased size? No, doesn't look like it. Not yet, anyway. But anyway, he gets more hit points and strength, but yeah, it increases his encumbrance. Although it's still not, yeah, his base encumbrance is pretty low. But you can see the heroic ability is boosting it a lot. Thanks, heroic ability. But yeah, you know, just too much. Yeah, he's still casting, and he's back asleep. I mean, I think, you know, the battle's probably going to be over. His morale is at least like pretty high, so he's going in. That's good. So, you know, maybe I was a little too harsh there on that script. You know, because he is like buffed to the gills now, and he does have Soul Vortex on, right? So he's starting to fix his fatigue problems. You know, as he starts to drain like his, you can see he's just got like tag soup here. So, you know, we'll see, right? Like these guys are pretty tough to take down, although he's definitely taking some hits. We'll see what's nailing him. Helheim has been pretty good about mixing in. Okay, so there's Smite Demon. That's like a priest spell. Doesn't really look like much of this is responsible for the damage. Let's see if I can actually find something that's not 0 points of damage. So he's seeing a ton of attacks. He is taking damage from something. We'll have to see maybe next time like he takes a hit. Yeah, that's small. We don't care about chip damage. I mean, a lot of this are just like Phantasmal Wolves, and like the trolls and stuff are really going to struggle. You know, here's a guy with a Gate Cleaver, right? So if this Van Jarl closes in, that he could kill a Dione, definitely. But, you know, I mean, this is the problem. Like, yeah, and the AI is probably, there's just going to be a stream of, like, yeah, skeletons and phantasmal wolves, like, coming in. So, will the Van Jarl ever... Oh, hang on. That looked like a Petrify. Let's see here. Yeah, phantasmal wolves. We don't care about phantasmal wolves. So, he's being forced to take checks. So, I'm assuming there's a Troll King in here. So, yeah, here he is. Yeah, and he's got the penetration gear. We've seen this guy before. Although, yeah, you know, he's not. It looks like he's just, you know, it's hard to get the spellcasting AI to, you know, to cast anything but buffs. It looks like he has a friend here, though. And there you go. He got one Petrify in. Look at all this stuff. Come on, man. One Petrify. And then that's what does the trick. So, yeah, anyway. There's some spellcasting mods and stuff out there, AI mods. I don't have too much experience with them myself, so, you know, people argue back and forth. But I'm definitely curious to try them out because, yeah, the spellcasting AI does leave a bit to be desired, although in fairness, it's a pretty difficult, you know, task. Oh, looks like he survived the petrification, but I think he got enslaved. If we turn on, well, actually, we'll see in the battle report. So yeah, it's Astral really useful in the late game because, I mean, as you can see, like that guy was really difficult to kill, even when he's getting hit with like petrifies and everything. Yeah, -1. So that Dione got taken over, probably in Slave Mind. And I mean, yeah, Helheim takes 6 casualties. Oh, 2 Van Jarls, that hurts, right? Those are probably, guys that were thugged out, that were going in. But I mean, like at this point in the game, you can pop those out of any fort. 260 gold. He has a lot of territory. Like that's totally fine to take a throne. And then Yomi loses everything, though he did not actually have that much in this province. And then we actually bought a mercenary. This is a wizard, and I mean we just don't really have a lot of air mages, so I think we popped him down on the throne. No, maybe not. Yeah, we popped him down here. So he's going to do a little bit of airside searching for us. I might try to hold on to him. I don't really have like another air master that I can use for Fog Warriors, and I'm trying to get Fog Warriors set up in like all of my main forts, so it's a little risky to rely on a mercenary for that, but at least in the meantime, he can search for air for us. And I hadn't recruited any mercenaries yet, so I was like, what the heck, I don't have a ton of air access. So what are we doing? Not too much again this turn. This is one of the issues. We're still, shifting forces over. I think our main army is here. Didn't get, caught this turn. So hopefully we'll get out of here and we won't get caught and have to fight. It's just Vanheim's PD, so it'll be fine. But ideally we don't get caught. So this is this army moving forward. So in 2 turns, right, it should be ready to jump on, although we might have it hang out here for a turn because we've got part of our visible forces moving on to the border next turn, but the other part is 1 turn behind, all the Vinemen and the Wyverns and all that kind of stuff. And also this is our Fog Warriors, our air communion here, which is also not stealthy. So we'll probably, that's going to be 1, 2, 3 turns. So probably 3 turns from now, maybe 2 turns, like, launch the attack with the stealthy stuff first, and then we'll hop on. We'll see. I forget exactly how I time it out. And then, we have a bunch of, here's our Spectre with all the gear and, scouts, and I don't know who the heck is who in here. There's definitely, here we go. There's some Axe Warrior groups in here. I can't remember how many offhand, but, there's still quite a few of them. In Vanheim's territory trying to shift over, but we're ideally going to hit a good chunk of like this territory here with our Axe Warrior groups. Certainly want to cut off like these forts, so high priority to hit these provinces with our raiders. And that's pretty much it. Most of the rest of this movement is kind of reshuffling these mages, the Crystal Sorceresses, like I said, trying to set up Fog Warriors, in each of our important forts, because we're probably going to get counterattacked pretty hard. In terms of, all that, the combat and stuff that we just saw, so this is that fort that went down up here. And, it's hard to say, but, like, definitely, like, here's a fort that's cracked of Yomi's that's under siege by Helheim. This is a throne. There's a ton of stuff here. So this seems pretty safe, at least for the moment. But, Helheim is, right next to it, kind of really, like, almost not surrounding it yet, but getting there. Yomi does have, Arcosafali and I think Ubar, locked down, which is good. He's getting to draw some income off that, denying it to Helheim. So these are both good moves. But they're just Diones, right? Like these forts aren't really actually under much threat. Like he's not going to be able to break down the walls and actually storm them. So it's good, but it's not as threatening as like this force, which could actually go and like take more forts, or this force could definitely go take some forts. So, hard to say. I mean, there's definitely like some somewhat deep raiding. We don't have enough scouts to really know exactly like how the war's going, but, it still looks pretty up in the air to me. Not sure. Like this could just be a raid similar to these Dione, because this fort is not cracked. But the fact that this is cracked, that's probably a significant force, so we're trying to get a scout on there so we can see if there's going to be a storm. And then, I think that more or less covers it. We can see that, Baratos is in pretty big trouble here. This fort of theirs has been cracked, so there's probably going to be a storm here. And then, they have, 2 forts, I think. and then, that's it. Probably not much territory, so yeah, I don't think it'll be very long before Valheim is finished with them. So that is kind of how that war is going. And then just as a sort of a side note, just to how effective Gift of Nature's bounty is in terms of, giving you money. Like we can see like recruitment starting, just like some random provinces for because he probably just has more money than he can spend in like all of his forts. He's just starting to recruit like just heavy cavalry here. So yeah, I think we're going to see this start to balloon, and just kind of demonstrates that spell really gives you a ton of gold. Oh yeah, and we're going to have another go at these trolls, so we don't like losing to trolls. And so yeah, we're actually risking some gems. so some gems are actually, on the line. We're sending Venom's Spew back in. He's only going to Soul Vortex himself. He's not going to cast Invulnerability, so we'll see about that. But yeah, we're going to have a buddy here, Tomb Shadow. He's going to create a bunch of skeletons. He's got a reinvigoration item on him, so hopefully he'll make a few more skeletons than he otherwise would. I don't know, we'll see. It's only 3, so not a huge deal. And then, yeah, the kitting is like pretty basic, but Boots of Quickness, always solid on like the undead with a 0 encumbrance. And then, Great Sword of Sharpness is going to deal a lot of damage, so he should actually be able to kill trolls. And then the Amulet of Giants is going to increase his size, which is going to help, for his strength and his damage. It's going to hurt his defense, but, we saw the defense got tanked anyway, so whatever. And then it's going to give him more hit points, right? So it's going to be more difficult, for them to, actually kill him. And hopefully it'll give him enough time with his Soul Vortex to, charge up his health from any hits that he does take. So, trying to go with a lighter kit. Obviously you could just fully kit this out, but trying to find kind of like efficient gear usage with these guys. So we don't have a ton of gems risked here. This is a 10 gem item, so this is always a little pricey when you bring these out, right? This is still like 20 gems of stuff, 25, right? So I mean, we're still risking significant gems here, but not as you can go a lot more expensive than that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, and I think that covers turn 86. All right, Ulm, turn 87, finished research in Thaumaturgy. Moving on to Enchantment 9, which I believe we've talked about. Throne Claim, this is by Helheim. And yeah, continuing our summoning, bringing in another Ivy King. Ivy Kings, bringing in Ivy Kings. Doing, gem searching, arcane probing. Most of these miss. I think, yeah, just this finds a Lake of Living Water, which I think is just a water gem. It is a site that you can interact with, I believe. Has an event tied to it. I don't think I take advantage of that, because I am terrible at taking advantage of those. So anyway, and then yeah, all like kind of our normal summoning that we've been doing, more golems, another yeti, more wyverns, wraith lords, mechanical men, like yeah, just burning all the gems such as we have. And then yeah, there's some battles. So this is between Baratos and Valheim, and this is pretty similar, I think, to one we've already seen. In fact, like I think this is the same province that had this sage here that is doing some body ethereal spam. One thing I'll say, it would be nice if he was a little farther forward. Like yeah, this time the barbarians just go in, and I don't think they actually really get any of the buffs. The sage just focuses on himself and the commander, which is like not the end of the world, but I do think with this amount of PD they'll just HP route, and they're just up against that probably the exact same vampire, maybe not, I don't remember, but yeah, this time the vampire is pumping out quite a bit of undead, and it's yeah, just too much. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing with immortals, right? Like they're just going to keep coming back if you don't soul slam. So like, they only need it to work once. And it doesn't lose anything. There's no kit. So it's part of why, blood is very effective in the late game. Vampires are blood summons, perhaps unsurprisingly. And yeah, here Dione doing their thing against absolutely minimal PD. No problem there. And then this was kind of a weird one. This is in Yomi's capital. So this is, I think, Helheim attacking with just a sage. Let's see, let's turn on team colored squares. No, this is Yomi with just a sage against 2 soulless. These used to be Van Jarls, it looks like. But then it was I think life after death is the spell. So like yeah, just a bizarre battle. It was clearly like, you know, they're just trying to poke at each other. I don't know about sending sages out like solo. So I mean, you know, he's buffed himself a bunch. That's kind of astral ones. Like they're good in communions and they're good at like point buffing. Like this is like their full like suite of point buffs right there. But like, yeah, okay, now he's gonna do starfires. Like in terms of damage output, I mean, you know, phantasmal warriors aren't super threatening, but for this sleeping old man, it's a little dangerous. Although it is gonna take a while, and you know, he'll wake up periodically and do his starfires. Anyway, we don't need to watch all of that. But yeah, Sage does not come out on top there, so kind of a strange battle. And then, yeah, this is just, you know, Helheim moving forward. I think this is just a province and not an assault. Yeah. So, yeah, just moving forward with his army. Probably that same army that we saw storm last turn. And then, let's see, there was a battle in Arcosafali. This is kind of interesting. Yeah, so this, I believe, yeah, this is Helheim. Trying to knock off, yeah, just a lone Dione that's like locking this fort down. And it looks like this Dione's kind of in caster mode. I don't know about this gear. Yeah, I don't know about this gear. I mean, he's got the skull staff, and he's like a high-level deathcaster anyway, so that's cool. So he's probably going to aim at skeletons, but I don't know, the rest of this, I mean, it's defensive, I guess. The Armor of Knights does help bring down his encumbrance. I think their basic armor is very encumbering. And I mean, you know, this is going to help him on the strategic map move around real quickly, but it's sort of like, yeah, Ring of the Warrior, it's like attack skill, but if you're just going to summon skeletons, and, you know, I mean, this will help him defensively, you know, if enemies get up to him, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's, if your plan is to summon skeletons, and hopefully if they've gotten up to you, something's already gone wrong. So yeah, would have liked to see like some reinvigoration gear. Like Soul Vortex is cool, but, you know, it's not going to help until they get right up to him. I don't know. Maybe he's not going to do skeletons. That is a possibility. Meanwhile, we got two Bane Lords coming in. This is a Demon Bane. I don't know if we've seen these yet, but yeah, you know, as you might expect from their name, ×2 damage versus demons. This is super bad news. This guy's going to do 38 damage anyway. He's got a boots of quickness on him. Yeah, it looks like more or less same kit on both of these guys. Pretty similar. So, like, yeah, you know, 38 damage, and they're going to be attacking quickly. Now, they might struggle a little bit to get through these skeletons, right? Because, like, this doesn't have any AoE, right? This is more anti-elite. So in that sense, like, summoning a bunch of skeletons is not the worst idea. On the other hand, like, I mean, these guys have they have Rings of Regeneration, both of them, yeah, and they have a big enough, you know, hit point pool. Like, their protection is, like, nothing to write home about. It's good. But, you know, it doesn't, like, regular skeletons are really going to struggle. You know, they're going to do chip, but you can see he just regenerates it back up. And then we also have a Van Jarl here. Yeah, pretty similar kitting. No Ring of Regeneration on him, fewer hit points, so, you know, it's less effective. He's just, you know, boosting his attack skill. I think Ring of the Warrior on this guy makes a lot more sense, right? Because he's also wielding a Demon Blade, so he gets hung up on the skeletons as well, which is good news for the Dione, who switches into terror spam. Here's a raised dead. That's good. So, like, yeah, I mean, this could work here, right? Like, you know, just keep him busy. But again, it's like, well, like the Stone Bird and the Ring of the Warrior, it's just not it's not helping you here. So I definitely think, like, you know, some reinvigoration gear. He has Earth, you know, so the Earth girdle, like, nature is not hard to get a hold of. So, like, some of the Boots of the Messenger, you know, just for a bunch more reinvigoration. You know, I mean, if you really want to spend money, there's an amulet of reinvigoration that goes in the miscellaneous slot. You could have a ton of reinvigoration on this guy. I don't even know did he summon Earth Power, hopefully? Yeah, he did, so that's good. So, I mean, he does have he actually has a good amount of reinvigoration. Does he have some on the Bless? Yeah, he does. Nice. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, yeah, this guy could be a skeleton machine. As it stands, like, honestly, he's still doing fine. Terror, though, you know, I mean, he's probably off script now. These guys have pretty good morale. I guess maybe the Van Jarl. Nope, morale 28. Like, I don't know. The AI, spellcasting AI loves, you know, like Panic is another one. It's in nature. So, like, Panic and Terror, it's just like, oh yeah, like, I don't know what the deal. You'd think he'd make skeletons. It does like to make skeletons, but in this case, you know, he decided, yeah, control undead. That probably, you know, then he, you know, I mean, the magic resistance on these guys is decent, but not amazing, right? So if he'd been spamming Control Undead and like taken over one of these guys, anyway, yeah. So they get in. What was that? Like, I think that's a 93. Reading that right? Oh man, yeah, 93 points of damage. So the Oni does at least go into spirit form, and this is one of the big downsides of Oni, although it looks like, yeah, in his spirit form he's just considered undead, not a demon. It's kind of interesting. His morale hasn't broken, but of course he's not like fully kitted out for melee, and these guys definitely are. So yeah, once the skeleton production runs out, it's all over. Although definitely I think Yomi was somewhat let down there by the spellcasting AI, who just, yeah, they love the morale plays, which don't, I mean, Wailing Winds is really effective, but Panic and Terror like can work, but against guys that are such high morale, I don't know, it usually does nothing, so kind of questionable. But anyway, yeah, so that does not work out for Yomi, and Helheim unlocks Arcosafali, which is bad news for me, and probably the world at large. And then, yeah, this is an interesting battle. I think this is Baratos evacuating a fort. Yeah, so I believe this fort does get stormed, so he's doing the same trick that I was trying to pull earlier, well, that I failed at once and succeeded at the other time. He, sends in a couple guys as, like, distraction, and then, yeah, these guys do make it off. Yeah, wow, okay. I guess they're not mindless, so I think if you have, like, mindless units and there's like all of your commanders of that type are routing, then they'll just start dying instead of running off the field. Like, yeah, these guys, yeah, they're broken now because there's no magic, no mages to command them. But yeah, we can take a look. I mean, this is what he's running from. We've seen this before. I would be running too. So yeah, so that's mostly successful, I think. Like, yeah, he loses, yeah, a few green lions, which does hurt. These are a little slow to bring in. But, I mean, everything else escapes, so, like, I think all things considered, that went pretty well. Yeah, or just cleaning out, some Vinemen with a Lich. That's a ton of skeletons, no doubt. And then, let's see. You're right, and then there was a storm. No, wait, sorry, this was not the storm. This is the storm down here. So, yeah, just an empty fort, and, Vanheim takes it. Does manage to lose a Magus somehow. Maybe, communion problems, possibly. This is definitely something you see a report like this in your battle, and it's like, what happened here? Could also be, yeah, there's a lot of archers on those walls, because I think it's a citadel, so they get more defenders. Like, the better fort it is, the more defenders, PD type defenders that show up on the walls. Most of the time, not super relevant, but, 40 archers, like, when they're dropping down a bunch of arrows, and you just have a couple, Maguses out there in their robes, that, could have been an arrow that tagged him. Anyway, you see something like this, and usually it's like you want to watch that battle and be like, what happened there? So you can prevent it from happening in the future. And then this is our battle against the trolls, getting vengeance. So our Wraith Lord's going in. Unfortunately, I think, for the items that are going to give you extra health, they take one turn to, like, finish. So it's like I put this on him last turn, and, like, now this turn his maximum hit points is here, but he still has, like, his old hit points. So it's, he shows up as having some damage. So that's kind of unfortunate, something to consider. And yeah, we pump out some skeletons with one of them, send the other guy in with his kitting. One troll does get around, like, the skeleton group, so that's a little freaky. And then, we took some damage. Oh, I know, this is just our pre-existing damage. And our fatigue is better. We did not put invulnerability on ourselves, which, is arguable. Didn't really help us too much last time, and we're kind of relying on, having some cover. And yeah, you can see that Great Sword of Sharpness definitely, like, does some work, and the enlargement with the extra strength and everything, and then of course he's getting to attack faster. So yeah, he wipes out a troll pretty quickly there. The skeletons, like, they're going to help a little bit, but aren't really going to do too much other than provide other targets, for the trolls to attack, so that all their attacks aren't focused. And now our defense actually does stay up because we're seeing fewer attacks. So yeah, now we're going after the commander here, and this guy back here is, yeah, he's asleep, so, but that's fine. He's made enough skeletons at this point that, yeah, we're in pretty good shape. So yeah, that went pretty well. Probably there's ways you could be more efficient. I mean, obviously using 2 is not ideal, but that's much better than unkitted, just 1. So then there was another battle in Ubar. So Helheim trying to knock Yomi, off of Ubar. Pretty similar situation to what we saw in Arcosafali, but in this case, we have 2 Dione, which, relatively standard kitting. We've kind of seen this before. This guy already got soul slayed. Ouch. So he's already into ghost form, like full kit on him too, fairly expensive, but like no magic resistance boost here. And 18 magic resistance is not bad, but it's not good either. So this guy does have an amulet of anti-magic, right? So he's up to 22, which is definitely much better. I would say that, like, in a lot of cases, like, Soul Slay wouldn't be as effective, but yeah, this guy's like fully loaded with penetration gear, right? So like, I'm not sure. I don't know, there's probably some way to get more penetration, but, barring some unusual items, this is pretty much the most you're going to get, right? So you're looking at +5 penetration for this golem. And so, yeah, short of, like, a much higher Astral Mage, this is, like, some of the nastier Soul Slays, that you're going to be seeing. And then, yeah, just some other, let's see, this guy's probably for skeletons. Here's the amulet I was talking about, right, which, yeah, is going to help his reinvigoration a lot, help him make more skeletons. And then, yeah, this guy's got a demon Bane. So, yeah, we've seen all these elements. I don't even know. Yeah, the other guy, the ghost is gone. He may have retreated. Let's take a look. Did he? Nope, he's dead. So I guess probably another soul slay. I guess you can soul slay ghosts. This guy's still going through his buff cycle. You can see, I mean, it really does make a difference, that amulet of anti-magic. I mean, some of it's just luck of the draw. And that is a reason that, like, having a really long script, one hit from the Demon Bane, and he was just like, no, F this, I'm out. So, yeah, I mean, and oh, wow, yeah, he chopped the arm off that had the Vine Shield. So, Vine Shield is not it's much better against, like, big groups of chaff. Like much less effective against elites generally, and like a lot of this kit, other than the amulet anti-magic, is sort of like anti-chaff, which I mean, like, yeah, it has its place, absolutely, but I mean, definitely Helheim has no problem kitting together thugs and super combatants, so it's kind of like, I don't know, it's risky. Definitely didn't work out in this case. And then of course too, like, the longer your script, like when you're up against something like Soul Slay, if you're just hanging out, trying to buff yourself, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like Iron Skin. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there was multiple threats there, so yeah, I mean, what do you cut, what do you keep? But the more spells that you go through, the more that you're just standing there eating soul slays, right? And you're just having to make that magic resistance check where it's just like, hey, do you succeed? No? Then you're dead. So, having a really long script is definitely bad news. If you're going to be up against Soul Slay, and it's dangerous in general. So it looks like, yeah, that one, right, the guy who got his arm chopped off, he bailed, he made it out, so that's good at least. Otherwise, though, yeah, these Dione not making the best showing for themselves, but in fairness, Helheim seems really good, so it's going to be tough. And then there was a battle in Yomi. I think this was just a poke. Yep. Typical. This guy's probably just going to make Phantasmal Warriors. But there's a lot in here. I believe this is in Yomi, so this is Yomi's capital. So, I mean, we don't need to go through all this now, but this is a ton of Great Eagles. So it's a very high siege strength and pretty good siege defense, too. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, I mean, much better siege strength. You can see, like, yeah, siege defense. I think maybe because they're an animal, right? Like, yeah, I think. I'll have to double check that. But anyway, I think animals get less, they get reduced siege defense, but it doesn't affect their siege strength, interestingly. Anyway, this is going to be somewhat difficult to break the walls on, but yeah, these guys would be much better on the attack. Not so great at holding the walls up, but I mean, he's got a ton of mages here, a bazillion skeletons, not actually that many Oni, so a few Dione. So anyway, there's a lot defending the capital, and that's not surprising. His god was in there. I don't know who this guy is, maybe a hero. Anyway, so that'll be interesting. If Helheim chooses to storm, we'll see. But yeah, definitely not a good sign in terms of like how the war is going at large. Because I mean, Helheim is poking his head in to Yomi's capital, so that's not a good sign. It's unexpected events. I don't know how unexpected they are. Just bad stuff. Hurricane. Yep, this is looking pretty normal. Losing Dominion again. Heavy snowfall. Losing tax. Pretty normal stuff. The Independents tried to get but ran into a lich. And I think other than that, we lost a scout and some patrolling and etc. And so what are we up to this turn? We're launching the attack. So, we can see we're going to be hitting, I think, 7 provinces. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hitting one here with the Spectres already in place. 5, 6. Got some Axe Warriors here in place. 7, right? So, not the most devastating attack. Like Helheim is pretty big at this point. Actually, we do have 2 more attacks up here. I just figured, wasn't actually really planning, but it's like, well, they're here. They're Wraith Lords. They're not like particularly kitted for PD, but they should be. Like, I don't think Helheim has any real reason to PD dump in these places, so they should be able to take minimal PD. So not exactly like a devastating alpha strike here. Definitely could have, moved up the Wraith Lords and used them as part of the first strike. And I think probably if I were playing this again, I would do that. I wanted to summon ghosts. Like, we have a good amount of ghosts here, right? Like, we have a decent, amount of, like, units and etc. here. And I did kind of want to leave this defended, right? Because this army is still just sitting here, and I don't have a nap with Vanheim, right? And he's about to be done with Baratos. And, we were decently friendly, and, he was talking about going in against Helheim, but, like, you never really know how that's going to play out. So, I did want to leave a strong defense here, and I also think I was concerned that, Helheim was going to start raiding me, pretty heavily once the war started, and I would need some forces to counter-raid. And the Wraith Lords are pretty good at that, right? Like, if he's just using Van Jarls or whatever, then, I can send in, like, a Wraith Lord, into various of my provinces to catch Van Jarls or recapture provinces that, he's taken. So I think I was thinking, like, more defensively minded with these guys. Moving them out to, like, the Mercs here and, to the Throne province. But I think if I was going to play this again, it's like, if I did need them defensively, I could always bring a few back. And I think, capturing more provinces, like, in the initial attack would have been useful, because even if Helheim was planning on, raiding my territory, if I've taken a bunch of his provinces, it forces him to, recapture his own provinces before moving on to mine. So, I think this is probably just, my inexperience, and just being, like, too defensive, and a little bit, like, hindsight, right? Because, again, I was concerned, about, Vanheim attacking, and, about so... but could have used more in this initial attack, and I think probably should have used more. But still, a decent attack. We aren't looking to knock Helheim out completely. Like, I don't know if that's possible. I'm sure all things are possible in Dominions, but it's a daunting task looking at it. So, like, not worrying about, like, knocking him out completely, just focused on this little bit here, which should be ours, and that's what we're focusing on. So, we've seen the Axe Warriors in action and, our Spectre and everything. So, like, nothing really new there to discuss. We're hopping onto the throne here, and we're going to try to crack this, like, right away, hopefully. It's only a 500, it's a decently tough fort. 500 giant fortress is something that Niflheim built. But, like, what do we have? Only 225 siege strength here. So, we probably won't crack this in one turn. What do we have here? Close, right? Like, 450. So, we should be close to cracking it. Depends on how much he has in here, but it doesn't look like much, right? 3 units that we can see, mainly, Jade Sorceress. He's got, like, 2 Jade Sorceresses and a Svartalf, like a dwarf. That's not a lot of siege defense. Now, there could be a whole stack of stealthy elves in there, but I don't know. Like, maybe it is a throne province, so it probably isn't this undefended. But at the same time, I mean, he is pretty busy, right? Like, so, does he really have the resources to just sit a bunch of Hell Herdings, or other, like, stealthy elven units in this fort? I think probably not, but we're going to find out. So yeah, and then, if we don't crack it, like, too quickly, we are bringing up, quite a bit more siege strength here, right? So, this will put us well over 500. So, like, we will sit on the fort for a turn, which is not good because it'll give him a chance to respond before we can storm it. But, this should be relatively surprising because he just saw these gargoyles show up on his border here last turn. And, that's... Niflheim is a capital, right? This could just be me moving stuff in, to help defend it, because it's never good to leave, any fort empty, but especially not like capitals. And so I don't think this looks particularly threatening. And of course, this is all stealthy. So, you can't see this. So hopefully this will, catch him off guard and, we'll be able to take this fort relatively quickly and then, just move on, right? And like hopefully take all the rest of these forts and then ideally get this guy. And then, if things go well down here, then we can, start to shift focus, maybe grab Arcosafali here, maybe start looking at Ubar, this throne up here. I mean, this is all like way down the line, but, so first, bite off this territory, take it over, and then, start to look more north, which is possibly another reason that, like, okay, maybe use the Wraith Lords, like, up here, because, we're deploying, like, quite a bit down here, so this is just, like, kind of our human forces, which aren't really ideal for fighting like kind of what Helheim has been bringing. The reason we recruited all these was because we were planning on throwing them against but we have them. They're not bad. We have some morale items here to help out against Wailing Winds. So like this gives +2 morale to all the units under his command. So they're morale 16. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad either. They should stand up at least for a little while in against like Wailing Winds. We have that helmet on both of our commanders, and I mean not all of our some of our anti-thugs and stuff, like morale 17, that's not terrible, but we have like morale hats on like pretty much all of our casters. I think every single not our Spectre, who does actually have morale, but he can't wear it because this is boosting his astral up. So anyway, there's other morale boosting items. I think at least one of them is in blood, which I don't really have too much access to. There aren't actually a ton of morale boosting items out there, which is part of why the morale hat is so important. And I mean. These guys still, they're only morale 15, even with the boost, like our army just don't have the best morale. So Wailing Winds, like, it could be a problem for sure. But, I mean, they're going to hold an attack, so they're going to get buffed a bunch, right? It's a pretty similar plan, that we've been doing for a long time, like weapons of sharpness, like all that kind of stuff. We have a lot of other stuff, mass regeneration mixed in, right? So there's a lot of like battlefield-wide, army of lead, right? So we have a lot of the big battlefield-wide buffs, being applied to like this whole army, but like otherwise kind of the same strategy we've been using all game. We've got our boxes and we're going to buff them up, with the strength of giants and the weapons of sharpness and all that good stuff. And then we're going to send them in and have them chop stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Like, hopefully, these maidens are killy enough that they'll be able to finish off, whatever Helheim throws at us, before Wailing Winds routes everybody off. That's kind of, once you're getting hit with Wailing Winds and you don't have unbreakable units, then it's like you just kind of have to look at it as like, okay, you're on a clock, right? So it's like, can you kill everything, before Wailing Winds routes you off? And I mean, these maidens are fairly killy. They may struggle a bit, because they don't deal a ton of damage, right? Like for each individual hit. So, I mean, obviously Helheim also is going to have all the battlefield-wide buffs, but I'm hoping that with weapons of sharpness and the strength of giants, that will be enough to cut through. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I mean, that's like the main part of the army. And then of course, the other bits are the gargoyles. We've seen them before. So we've got like three squads of gargoyles, doing the usual like quickness on them. And a few other buffs, probably like strength of giants and stuff. And then a few other random casters for like evocation, stuff like that. So Yeah, and then like Frostfend, like all kinds of like the army-wide buffs. So hopefully we'll be fully buffed out. We won't have any like foul vapors holes, poison resistance holes in there. You never know. I'd have to painstakingly check that again to see. So we'll just find out when the battle happens. But yeah, so I mean, we're bringing a lot of stuff. Whether or not it's going to be enough, we're bringing foul vapors. So yeah, we better hope. And then we got fog warriors coming up here, with the rear. We've got our wyverns, who I do think are going to struggle a bit in the cold. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's summer, so it looks like Helheim took cold dominion, and of course so did we. So it's just like all cold everywhere. So yeah, I think the wyverns will struggle a little bit with that, but they will help if we get hit with wrathful skies. So yeah, I mean that's what we're throwing onto this fort. Otherwise, we'll have quite a few Wraith Lords available to counter-raid anything that he throws in, and ideally we'll have like, I'm hoping for like 3 turns. Because I think we'll be able to break the fort, in 3 turns. Like, we'll hop on next turn, hopefully almost bring it, almost crack it, right? And then our other stuff will arrive, and then it'll crack it, and then we'll storm, on the 3rd turn, right? So I kind of need, like, 3 turns. We're not too far from his capital, right? So I don't know what kind of forces he has. You can see I'm moving a scout in here, a little belatedly. I don't like to leave scouts on forts normally, but you can see like now that like we're attacking, we're sending scouts on a lot of different forts to try to get a sense of like, well, what kind of reserves does he have? And of course the elves are pretty fast, and there's a lot of magic, phase movement and stuff, so he could maybe gateway stuff in. Like, well, yeah, 3 turns is a lot to ask for, so we'll see. But I mean, on the other hand, he is really busy, right? Like, yeah, this is cracked. This is another throne of Yomi's. So I mean, he has a lot of forces that are deployed, like still trying to siege down like the last Marverni possession, right? This is Yomi's capital way out here. He's got another Yomi throne under siege. This is where there's like a bazillion of those Oni, like over 1,000 of them. So I mean, like, he has a bunch of other stuff going on, and it's quite far away from where we're attacking. So maybe 3 turns is reasonable. I don't know. We'll see. And I think that covers turn 87.